Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production. And we're on part 3 of this Everfest review reveal royale. That's a lot of R's right there. So
Yeah.
triple R. We're gonna go through another
Reduce,
10, 11
reuse,
cards or
recycle.
so.
There we go.
Reduce, recycle the rune chant. Anyways, so we're going to be looking at another group of cards here. In case this is the first one you're watching, for some reason you kind of came in during the middle, that's totally okay. Feel free to watch episode 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all of them, whatever. They'll be available on Facebook, not on Facebook, on Spotify, sorry. And for your listening pleasure, if you don't want to watch the video, if you liked our content so far and you enjoy it, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Usually I say this at the end. I'm going to start saying it at the beginning. Just if you have any comments for us, any improvements, things like that, please let us know. We won't know unless you tell us. If you liked our comment, we would appreciate it if you let us know that too. And so without further ado, this round's on me. Oof. It's really random. I kind of forgot about this card. That it was actually an earlier reveal, but we didn't actually talk about it. So I kind of slotted it in here before we talked about the other one. So this round's on me was actually one of the first ones to be revealed, if not the first one to be revealed. Yeah. It is a blue 1-cost, 3-block. It is a majestic, so it just only comes in blue. 1-cost, 3-block, non-attack action with go again. So each hero draws. Well, I'm already kind of scared, to be honest with you. Until the start of the next turn, attacks that target you have -1 power. Good luck with Kodachis. So essentially, the way I see this card, it's a ultimate pit fight card. It's like a PvE kind of card. It's like a the more the merrier card. Doesn't it feel like a more the merrier card as far as like thematically, right?
I just feel like the drawback is so strong if you're just 1v1ing someone and you give them a card. Like that seems very, unless you catch them on a turn where they're not really planning to do anything and they got one card that they can't really use. That sounds like it could work, but like the one discount. I mean, at least you draw a card too, which is nice, right? You draw a card.
It recycles itself. But it costs the 1, so you still have to pay.
You are at a detriment of 1 resource here, exactly. Yeah.
But as you kind of mentioned, I really don't want to give the opponent a card, right? So it's going to get some decks that go very, very wide that attack 3 or more times to get like the full block value doubled, or essentially get additional card value in the block, right? Because this originally just blocks for 3.
Yeah.
If you play it, you need to get at least a full value card swing in the opposite direction for it to be worth you giving them a card, which on average the value is 3.
Yeah.
Right. Blocking wise. And so things like Katsu, Benji, Ira, maybe Briar, etc. Those kinds of, go wider strategies where you actually get the value. The card in general is just very average, very, very, very situational sideboarding. Could be okay in decks where you like getting an extra card, playing like when you have Tunic, right? So you use the Tunic, play this, and you're not paying a card to get this off. Also fine when where you're doing something like a dominate where the extra card doesn't really matter as much, even if they have 5 cards, you're still dominating.
Yeah.
If you happen to give them the D-react, then I guess you lose. But it's okay. I mean, it's really all I have.
Funnily enough, you can play 3 of these and then block out pretty much everything in a go wide deck. Like -3 on all your attacks against Benji. He just sheds a tear and says, "All right, pass turn to you."
Oh, what you got to do is they play Channel Mount Heroic, and the next turn you play 3 of these.
Yeah,
and then you just be like, "No,
cancel your channel." It's right. I gave you 3 cards, but let's just cancel your Mount Heroic.
And honestly, it's worth it. It's worth 3 cards, right? And so we gave this a 2 out of 5. I don't think it's relative to more competitive play. We gave it 2 out of 5.
In Ultimate Pit Fight / I guess not, maybe like the PvE, it'd be amazing because you're all on a team and you give everyone a card. It's amazing.
I keep wanting to say like maybe in Earth. It's like, wait, no, that's the wrong game.
Okay. That's right.
So rolling on to the next, we got a group of items here coming up here because they happen to be released at the same time. So Potion of Luck is the first one.
Yeah.
Blue non-attack with no go again. Keep that in mind. No go again on this one, right? So
it's a potion.
Blue non-attack with potion. At instant speed, destroy and shuffle your hand and your arsenal. Not just your hand. Your arsenal also draw that many cards. So potentially looking at like a 5-card shuffle, right? 4 cards plus the arsenal. So immediately thinking of decks that pretty much lose games off 1 bad hand, because that's what this is.
Yeah.
This is called like this. It could be like that. The guy in Hope versus Hood,
Yeah,
If you
I was
go to
gonna say.
extended art, he's probably holding this thing.
That's right. Yeah,
At the
he
bottom,
opens
right?
his trench coat. He has like a bunch of these lamps like in his trench coat. You want to buy some luck?
He just goes to the playground and tells all the kids he's got potions of luck. Don't do that, please. And so it's like you can't really like. I think the hero I was thinking of is Kano, right? You get this off the
Hmm.
top. It's
Yeah,
okay
yeah.
because it doesn't cost an action. You can't replace an EPOP with this though. So if you're running Time Snap before, it's a decent replacement. Like in kind of Kano, I'm not sure if it replaces any Wizard Blue attacks that come off the top since it's a non-blocking card. It can lead to some really awkward hands if you
Yeah,
do actually have to block and do something.
yeah.
Possibly, I thought it could also be used in Briar. So in Briar, when you draw all non-attacks, that's an issue, right? You try to search with Sonata, but if you don't have Sonata, you don't have Sonata, right?
Exactly.
The issue is you can't choose some. Unlike Hope Merchant's Hood, where you
Yeah,
can choose how much, you need to be ready to give him everything.
it's a
You
full
got
mulligan.
get her. It's a full mulligan, and possibly sees like a heavy item knick-knack deck or something. I say that under my breath a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Possibly okay in Icelander also because you can play it as an instant out of Arsenal, but I would rather play something as an instant with Go Again to gain the additional action point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, I don't think many decks have spare space for a card like this. I don't know what
the
you kind of
the
think
full
about
mull. If it was a partial mulligan, I could see it maybe having some fringe conditions where
this
you could
situation.
like get around like a CNC that you really want to save your arsenal. It kind of mimics Crown of Seeds in that respect. It's like, hey, like, give me the Crown of Seeds back to my hand, or give me the card in my arsenal. Kind of put
Give
it,
me a
draw
card
one
back.
card exactly. It kind of might have had that kind of fringe use case, but
Yeah,
as it is, I don't see it. I think it's pretty much going to be you draw a really bad hand that you needed to get over that turn, just mulligan
I
and
do.
draw again.
I do think the cold foil of this would actually look pretty nice. That being
Yeah,
said,
I
the
think
rating wise, we gave it a 2 average.
yeah.
Could also give it a 1.5 average. Depends on what kind of spice people are thinking of. I don't like. There's only two of us. Like we only have so many big brains that we can
So many brain
move around
cells.
for these cards. Yeah. Um, so that was
Yeah.
the first item. We're moving right on to the second item. I know people are going to be like, "Oh my good god, please stop with the items." Well, you know what? This set is like half items, so that's just good. That's just it. These are the reveals we got.
Oh man.
Talisman of Balance. So, funny card here. So it's a blue item with Go Again. So this one does have Go Again. At the beginning of the
Right.
end phase, if you have less cards in Arsenal than the opposing hero, destroy it. Put the top card of your deck into the empty Arsenal zone. This seems incredibly average. Okay for decks that want to like play out at their whole hand in some way. The opposing hero doesn't use whatever's in their arsenal. Like they want to keep
Yeah.
it for their own turn. At best, it's a deck thinner.
It's
Unless you
a
have
deck
opt, there
thinner.
wouldn't be any. Yeah, you wouldn't even have like unless you have the opt guaranteed. It's a good card. But maybe some like blue card you put in the arsenal.
Yeah, you
Um,
can't control
that being
like
said,
yeah.
okay in Icelander because you can play
Yeah.
all your blue cards out of the arsenal as instant anyways. Maybe it's okay. I still don't think it's good. Uh, I didn't even rate this card because I didn't even like. Maybe it's a 1.5, a 2, like slightly worse than
Yeah.
Potion of Luck. I'm not really sure, honestly.
Yeah, I'd go towards the 1.5, I think. I mean, if you're not looking to deck thin, I think just playing a card that you'd rather draw instead of this makes more sense. A card that you would want to arsenal, maybe.
Mhm.
Because it's like you are spending the card to play this, and then eventually you're going to get a card into your arsenal. Well, you could have just played the card in arsenal to begin with. Unless you're waiting for a turn where you just can't afford to put anything in arsenal, right? It could be a good way to maintain tempo, maybe, if you're like using your whole hand as Bravo or something, going really big, and then popping this to refill your arsenal. That could be, it's almost like kind of putting an arsenal card in a bit of a like a limbo state, and then you can kind of put it in once you've emptied it. But it's tough to use.
You can see how far me and Rob are really stretching to use out of this card. Should already kind of tell you that I'd probably stay away from it unless there's something really obvious. That being said, let's move on to the most useful potion I've seen so far, probably out of all the potions, items, and talismans in general, up to when we're recording, which is Friday. Potion of Deja Vu. Rob's probably like, but as a wizard player, I'm like, so it's a blue item,
Yeah.
cost 0 non-attack action without Go Again. As an instant, you destroy the potion, put all cards from Pitch Zone on top of your deck in any order. So we're looking at a very strong card in Kano. Kano's ability alone would allow you to pitch cards you want to put on top at instant speed in the order you want to push damage with limited resources. This is a very good fixing card. So it also helps Tomes, Findel, Aetherwind for Kano, where I personally have ended up drawing yellows and reds when I've needed blues to go for more damage. I've done this into Rob multiple times.
Yep.
I remember drawing, using a tome and drawing into a Findel and an Aetherwind. Off a tome, I drew those 2 tomes. I can imagine if I actually had this Deja Vu potion to start pitching both of these for Kano and actually just draw them out or something like that. So now you can pitch those cards for Kano, your reds and your yellows that you don't necessarily want to pitch to actually go off the top, or pitch it to Crucible. That's also fun. Whatever you want to use it for, and then potion them to get them on top of the deck, or you can then Kano them out.
And
or
you
get
can
them on something like a Sonic.
So what you could do probably is you can activate Kano's ability, pitch to use it, and then before Kano resolves, you use the potion, right?
At instant speed.
At instant speed, and then you can take the cards you've pitched and then use them for the ability that you've activated before for Kano, right? So you kind of get it on the stack and then use the potion, and then Kano resolves, which will give you the top card of your deck that you've put it back on top, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
If
and
that's
that's kind of the idea, right? So you wanna stack your pitch zone, but instead of pitch stacking to the bottom of the deck, which is what you usually do, now you're pitch stacking to the top of the deck. That's fantastic. So it helps one of those sore points of Kano, which is getting low resource, high damage hands, which was one of the main issues Kano had in terms of consistency, right? You can beat anyone, but also lose to anyone, and this really helps. I think it's a full probably 2 of in Blitz, probably either a 2 or 3 of in CC. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe 1. I could see 1 or 2 in Blitz, then 2 or 3 in CC, depending on people's build. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I just think it's a 4 good, essentially, a 4 out of 5.
For Kano.
It's just a very good, for Kano. It's just such a good Kano card. With the amount of burst he can do, the resource issues he has sometimes, it's just the hand fix, and it just stays on the board, right?
Yeah, use it whenever you need it,
goes away.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's just, I just find it like this is something that Kano needed, and here it is, just on a silver platter. So I give it a 4 out of 5. I don't know, am I wrong? Please tell me in the chat that I'm an idiot.
We'll find out when this card comes out, and you smoke me with Wizard every time.
Now when I'm going to draw the double red, I'm not going to hit my face anymore.
Yeah.
Next, less interesting item. Still not a bad item. We have Amulet of Echoes. Echo.
Creepy card. Looking at the art, it's like just full of ears.
Yep.
Stuff of nightmares.
Blue item, cost 0, non-attack action with go again. So as an instant, you destroy it. Target hero discards 2 cards. Activate it only if they've played 2 or more cards with the same name this turn. Echo. So
I get it now.
This is one of those nice situational sideboard cards that's a good example of future proofing. And what future proofing is bringing out, developing cards and releasing cards that don't make a whole lot of sense with the card pool now, but will make a hell of a lot more sense maybe a little bit later, or maybe later in the set, right? So it proofs any ridiculous combos people come up with for certain classes, like ball, lightning.
Fair enough. Yeah.
With a couple of oh man, what's it called? Sting of Sorcery.
The stings, yeah.
So if it wasn't banned, it stops that double sting ball, all that kind of stuff. It stops some scary double cards like Mordred Tide. You know, when you get that sick double Mordred off.
That's true.
Possibly Bramble Spark.
The thing, down, maybe. Though, the thing is too that the opponent knows if this is in play and they can play around it. So if I have 2 Mordred Tides, I might just keep it, keep 1, right? I won't play them both, but
now I have this item sitting here for the entire game that's forcing you to play it non-optimally.
It's true.
And that's kind of where it comes in, right? So it may not straight up stop a combo from happening, but it will make your opponent play around it, potentially tax resources, optimal play lines away from them. Possibly. Not always. There are ways to get around things, but already noticed it could be useful in Everfest against something like 100 wins, which we're going to discuss in a later episode. But at worst, it's still a blue non-attack with go again. So it's not usually going to be that big of an issue if you get it later when you don't need to just pitch it, get it early, slap it down, and go on with your day, right? So not an amazing card by any means, but as I said, situational good sideboard card. So I give it a 3 average, especially if like particular scary combos come out where this is useful that people realize later.
True.
And then they could go back to their pool, get this, get a couple slots in the sideboard. At least you have it, right?
Fair enough, yeah.
Amulet of Echoes. So now we're looking on to Matt Rogers'
We're
reveal
getting into
card.
some
Oh,
spice.
me and Rob actually disagreed on this card when it first came out.
True.
I'm here to try to. I'm trying to.
I've since come around. I've since seen it your way.
He thought they were hot garbage. I'm here to prove him wrong. And
take it away. Prove me wrong again. Let's go.
I was sitting here and I'm like, there is no way in hell LSS gave Matt 2 dud reveal cards for Mechanologist
for his favorite class too, right? It's like, here you go. Trash.
So let's look at Signal Jammer. So it's a blue mech item. Enters the arena with a steam counter. Already getting pretty steamy up in here, right? So the beginning of your action phase, destroy it unless you remove a steam counter. Each hero can't play more than 1 non-attack action each turn. So we're looking at that. Comes in with a steam counter and you need to remove it. So it's kind of like Zen State that comes in with a counter and you have to remove it, otherwise it gets destroyed. That's kind of the most parallel option you can get at the moment. And so it stays for 2 turns, right?
Yep.
The immediate thought is quite good into Kano, as all the arcane spells are non-attack actions. As if that matchup couldn't get more one-sided.
Well,
this card just breaks it.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
It also hurts decks that use a lot of non-attack actions to go tall and add effects, right? Add effects to attack actions, because it's pretty. It might be super common to have, like, let's say, that card that we reviewed last time that breaks items. Well, okay, but now you only get that one. You can't buff with anything else. No more non-attacks. It stops Briar from making Embodiment of Lightning. How do you make an embodiment when you can only play 1 non-attack?
That's true.
Stops Double Lumina. Stops tall Rangers that use like increased attention, seek and destroy, dominate an arrow and fire it. It is a solid sideboard card that can stop a wide enough range of decks to be useful. It's not something that is a core must-have card.
Yeah.
However, a lot of these cards are not going to be core must-have cards, right? Especially at the Majestic level. Like, there's going to be different situations. I give it a 3.5 good. It's a good sideboard card that could be used in a variety of scenarios that I thought of just off the bat. And non-attacks are not going away anytime soon. Restricting to 1 non-attacks. As dash, you can just pop out an item and call it a day.
And there are a lot of blues you run in dash too that you can easily find a substitute for this card. There are a lot of blues that you will never play in dash. They do block, but I mean, pour the mold. Yeah, you run that against Bolton pretty much only just to get the non-attacks in there. But
you need to pour the mold to get this thing out to give it more steam counters.
Man, once things can give more steam counters, that can make this really broken, I think. But
oh yeah, for sure. So that's Signal Jammer. We've converted Rob halfway, so let's convert him to the other half here. Right? So we're looking at Dissolution Sphere. We're gonna break his dissolutions.
Yeah. So I've always thought this was good. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this is a good card. I did not think this is hot garbage. Small disclaimer.
Coming around.
Plus the art is really nice. I love the art for this card.
I do actually like the art more than Signal Jammer. So this is a yellow 2-cost mech item. It enters with a steam counter, destroyed if it doesn't have one. So
similar
again,
story, 2 turns.
Yeah, you get 2 turns. Unless pour the mold, of course, right? Whenever your hero would be dealt exactly 1 damage. 6 around. Oh, sorry. Whenever that's the effect. Sorry, I wasn't super clear with that. Pretty sure of the card here. So sticks around for a total of 2 if you can't add any steam counters. So the different applications. Let's look at this, right? So it's mostly the biggest one that everyone's thinking about: Viscera Rune Chance. Rune Chance in general, exactly 1 damage, multiple times. Kodachis. It's yellow, so possibly okay into like Prism, right? Since it applies against Spectral Shields.
True.
Spectral Shields come in for 1.
Yeah.
Another source of exactly 1 damage, or you can discard it to break their library. But the big point that I thought was as if it didn't get any better. The big point, it turns off those pesky 1 damage breakpoints from attacks that hit from 4, 7, 10. Guess what? Your 4 is 3. I block with a card.
Yeah.
Now what, right? So you don't always have to have those like Red Fate Foreseen, Red Sink Belows, those like odd cards that they're okay cards for what they do, but maybe you don't need to run as many of them. Maybe you could shift your strategy a little bit, knowing that, hey, I can just block from hand without having this red card that doesn't pitch. You know what I mean? So you can block for one less regularly, and then the last one's replaced, right? So there's plenty of applications. It's a solid card for the 80 card deck, sided it based on matchups. You can also give Data Doll an edge, given she only has the 3 intellect, right? So it can hopefully prevent 3 points of damage over 2 turns, more or less, if you banished it and you get it off Data Doll's ability, right? If you play it for free. And so I think it's also quite good in Data Doll because she doesn't have as many cards to block with, so that having that extra space with the reduce from 1 helps quite a bit for her, I think. I get a 3.5 also. A good, solid sideboard card. Works in enough scenarios to make it an overall good rating. So 3.5s across the board. I don't think you can ask for much more from Majestics in general, right? So those were the 2 mech cards. We're finally coming into some ninja cards. I know you and me were waiting to see some the big ninja players we are. Waiting to see some. We'll get some games off with Katsu and stuff. I can build a Katsu deck and get gameplay going. We showed the Ira. I played Ira into you once, but we'll get a little bit Katsu going. So starting off with 100 wins. So it's a cost 0, ninja attack action, go again, blocks for 2. Because ninja, right? Combo with 100 wins gains +1 for each 100 win on the chain. Right. So it does come in the red, yellow, blue flavor. So 3-2-1, I believe.
You could run 9 of these, and you might want to.
You might want to. It's generally good for ninjas due to having the innate go again and costing 0. 0 for 3 with go again is pretty good. Head jab is being like the standard 0 for 3 vanilla.
Right, yeah.
Allowing it to be, so in terms of playability, right, for Katsu, it's cost 0, allowing it to be used for his ability, banishing a 0. And it's a searchable combo card with unconditional go again, with a ceiling of 3, 4, 5 damage, depending on like how many you have and how many you can play in a row, if you can access all 3, right? So targeting for Flick Flack is also a consideration. It is a combo card.
True.
Benji seems to gain a lot from this card, specifically the yellow and blue ones. Again, benefiting from the go again.
And the
downside
1 and 2
going over
1 and 2 attack. Yeah,
exactly. So the potential downside going over 2 is managed by his ability to
gain
weave
1.
weapon swings in. Yeah, to gain 1 and weave weapon swings in between to prevent the combo.
Yeah.
And also his new specialization that cares for the base power and not the current power on the chain. Right? I think Ira looks to gain the least from this card, since the traditional Ira list focuses more on tempo, meaning her cards need to be efficient or impact the board significantly, like pitch a blue, Kadachi, Command and Conquer, or something flying kick, like bigger kind of tempo swing. The go again isn't as relevant for Ira as other ninjas, since normal turns for her tend to be like 2 weapon attacks and an attack. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Overall, it looks to be above average for the traditional go wide strategy of Ninja, and definitely makes it to the main decks in some capacity.
Yeah.
Depending on what kind of deck you're playing.
And I love that it combos itself, right? I mean, Flood of Force, I think, was one card that comboed with itself, if I remember correctly. But this one being, I mean, this makes it so that if you run a bunch of these, they have a higher chance of comboing with each other. You're not relying on a previous combo piece. It's like, draw 4 of these, you're good. Just play them all, right? So I would say more the merrier for this card, unless you have other things to put in. But it seems like it'd be okay to run all 9, to be honest.
It goes really well with, is that bigger than that? Greater than that? What's that card called? It is called even bigger than that.
Yes. Yeah.
Great card. It's what would you like more than to hit with a Kadashi? Find another 100 wins on top and draw that in. You're already comboing
keep
twice.
Going. That's right. Yeah.
I give it a 3.5 in Katsu and Benji. Good card in both. I give it a 2 average for Ira.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really fit with her strategy. She's not going to get support this set directly, I think, because she got Blossoming Mist something.
Whirling Mist Blossom?
Whirling Mist Blossom. One is not played. That's the one.
Yeah.
She got an Incredible. I don't think she's going to directly get support. She's not really that archetype that needs it, nor it's not going to be focused on. And so I'm not surprised. Winds of Eternity. So this is the very next part. You can see in the art, he's kind of moving. He's kind of moving from one side to the other here. So Winds of Eternity is the combo. Works off 100 wins. Cost 0. Ninja attack action. Blocks for 3. Combos with 100 wins, gains +2 on the hit, shuffles all the 100 wins on the combat chain into your deck. On the combat chain into your deck, as opposed to Lord of Wind, which puts everything in the grave back into the deck, right?
But I mean, can we really expect too much out of this card? It is a 0-cost 3-block blue that hits for 4. I think that by itself is majestic level. The added ability, I think, is icing on the cake at this point.
Yeah, I think it's kind of lackluster just because it requires multiple other cards and hitting for it to do anything. It's because it's like a combo ender. It doesn't have
it doesn't combo with itself. Yeah. Like
it doesn't have any conditional go again.
100 wins, yeah.
Yeah, I think Katsu, since 100 wins will most likely see play because it's such a good card. It will probably see some play because it's a blue 0-cost for 3.
Yeah, exactly. I think whenever you see that kind of trifecta, it's like, okay, why wouldn't I run this kind of thing, you know?
I think it does an okay job at recursion, so being able to get 100 wins from the chain into hand. But as far as on hits, it's not really strong enough to warrant most blocking.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, you get maybe 1 or 200 wins back to your deck. It's like, okay, big deal.
Exactly. Benji may play the card for the same reasons, as it could be played at the end of the chain, making it unblockable with the ability because it's a 2-block. This card for Ira adds, Ira already has a ton of blue 0 block 3s, like 0 costs, like blues block. It doesn't really
add anything for Ira, really. Yeah.
No, it'll see some play just based on the stat line, but I don't think the card itself, the innate playability of the card, is going to be what makes the cut here. I think it's just going to be purely off 100 wins.
Yeah, agreed. If 100 wins wasn't as good as it was, this card would see no play, I think. Yeah.
I'll Flood of Force. So we give it a 2.5 average.
Yeah.
It's average. Don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, anti-fatigue, I guess. If you want to add some more cards to your deck. Not sure if it matters too much, but that could be a reason to put it.
Fair enough. So last card of the video. Vexing Quillhand. Runeblade Armor Equipment, which is interesting because it's competing with the legendary...
With the best gloves in the game, right? So tough shoes to fill.
Destroy as a action with Go Again. Create 2 rune chance. It has Arcane Barrier 1, which Grasp doesn't have Arcane Barrier. So it's a straight up upgrade to things like Null Rune gloves for Runeblade. Right. So if you were running it, almost all of them ran the Crown of Dichotomy for the Arcane Barrier 1, either way. So if you needed 2 for things like Kano, solid upgrade, right? When you pop this, you can snowball a bigger aggressive turn for decks that run cards discounted off Rune Chance. A couple other new cards that they got that we'll, of course, review later, but discounted off Rune Chance, such as Amplified Arcanite, Rune Flash, trigger cards like Mean Greed, Rattlebones of Arcane hits.
Yeah.
Is it better than Grasp? No. I don't think it's better than Grasp, but
it's situational. Exactly.
I don't think it was built to be better than Grasp. It's majestic versus a legendary. It's a good budget option for Runeblade players that don't want to shell out for an out-of-print piece of equipment to play Runeblade.
Yeah.
It can be brought in as a sideboard piece for either super aggro decks that might not value the armor as much, or a lower resource curve that's pitching for Grasp isn't as useful. So a more red-yellow line aggro Viscerai or something like that.
Yeah. Maybe more of a blitz kind of pick, maybe. Where you kind of want to, just create the 2 rune chance and then kind of go big on one turn. I think that makes sense.
And having the Arcane Barrier 1 is always kind of useful against a lot more decks nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. In CC, breaking this wouldn't make much sense, I think, because you lose the Arcane Barrier if you did. It's kind of the same situation as Skullhorn. You have the Arcane Barrier too. You can't really use the ability ever unless you want to lose, to Kano. So you use it kind of as a last resort to push in some lethal damage, probably. But I would say Blitz is probably where this would shine the most.
I agree. I give it a 3, average. It's good at what it does, comparatively speaking. It's hard for any equipment over the L's that Runeblade already has at disposal. I don't know what they could have made other than a Fable equipment that would have been better. But
that would be a big problem. Yeah, I think that because people have invested in these legendary pieces that cost $150, $200 for the. I think that's the current price, maybe for the Grasp. But if you've bought that and then this comes out and it's better strictly than Grasp, then you're kind of upset, right? I think LSS has a kind of a code that they want to follow, that they're not going to want to power creep old items. Unless they're like really cheap, like the Null Rune gloves here, which is totally fine. You can eclipse that all you want. I don't care. But the legendaries, you're paying money for them, and for a lot of people that makes a big difference. You cannot just keep buying $100 cards all day. So
nope, unless you're Rob. But enough about that. Appreciate everyone for watching. Hopefully you learned something new. I learned some new things. Rob learned some new things. We're all just learning a lot of new things today, right? So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Are we right? Are we wrong? Is your opinion different from ours? Why is it different? Is there something we missed? Leave a comment. Let us know. I would like to learn more about these cards to try to theorycraft a bit of a deck of my own one day, especially for ProQuest.
oh yeah,
ProQuest season coming up. And so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching this from and when you are watching this. And with that, that is part 3 of our Everfest preview review series. Next one going to be coming up very shortly. Thanks everyone for watching.